What if a killer openly communicated with law enforcement, clearly outlined his crimes, and still remained free for decades? In the city of Wichita, Kansas, a man committed a series of calculated murders, left behind written confessions, and taunted authorities with chilling confidence. He did not hide his presence. Instead, he announced it. And yet, despite repeated warnings and visible patterns, the danger was underestimated, and the consequences were devastating. For more than 30 years, a serial offender terrorized a quiet Midwestern community. He entered private homes without force, restrained entire families, and vanished without a trace. Long before he was identified, he adopted a name that described his method with disturbing clarity: bind, torture, kill. The name itself was a confession. It was also a warning, but at the time, it was not treated as one. In January 1974, Wichita police responded to a crime scene that would permanently alter the city's sense of safety. The Otero family had been murdered inside their home. There was no sign of robbery, no clear motive, and no suspect who fit neatly into existing theories. Investigators initially believed it was an isolated incident, possibly a burglary that escalated unexpectedly. That assumption would soon prove to be tragically wrong. Within months, another murder followed, then another. The victims differed in age and background, but the circumstances shared unsettling similarities. The perpetrator selected victims carefully, entered their homes deliberately, and brought tools with him. These were not crimes of impulse. They were planned. At the time, however, each case was treated separately. Different investigators handled different scenes, and information was not consistently shared across departments. What appears obvious in hindsight was fragmented in real time. Later that same year, local media outlets received a letter. It was typed methodical and unsettlingly calm. The writer claimed responsibility for multiple murders and included details that had never been released to the public. He referred to himself by the name BTK. Rather than prompting immediate alarm, the letter was met with skepticism. Authorities believed it could be a hoax, written by someone seeking attention. Similar false confessions had occurred in other high-profile cases, and police were reluctant to amplify what they believed might be another distraction. As the years passed, the murders continued. Women living alone were targeted. Mothers were attacked inside their own homes. In several cases, neighbors reported suspicious behavior. A man watching houses, asking unusual questions, or lingering in areas where he did not belong. These reports were documented but rarely prioritized. Many were dismissed as unreliable or lacking sufficient detail to pursue further. Law enforcement believed they were dealing with an elusive offender who left no usable trail. By the early 1980s, the killings abruptly stopped. The letters ceased as well. Investigators assumed the offender had moved away, died, or been incarcerated for an unrelated crime. With no new activity, the case slowly faded into the background. Files were archived. Leads went cold. The city attempted to move forward. What was not known at the time was that the killer had not disappeared. He had simply adapted. He remained in Wichita, living an ordinary life, holding a steady job, participating in his community, and raising a family. His outward normalcy directly contradicted prevailing assumptions about what a serial killer looked like. This disconnect played a critical role in why he remained undetected. The ignored evidence extended beyond witness statements. The letters themselves contained valuable information, linguistic patterns, repeated phrases, and the writer's fixation on control pointed to a highly organized personality. Behavioral indicators suggested someone who was disciplined, patient, and deeply invested in recognition. Early criminal profiling lacked the sophistication and resources needed to act decisively on these insights. Combined with heavy caseloads and limited interdepartmental coordination, the warning signs were effectively buried. One attempted victim survived an encounter and provided a description of her attacker. The information did not lead to an arrest. Another individual reported seeing a masked man near a crime scene. The report was marked as unreliable. A city employee noticed unusual behavior in areas connected to the murders. That tip was misfiled. None of these details were meaningless, but none were fully pursued. Perhaps the most significant failure was a psychological one. Investigators expected chaos and instability. Instead, they were facing someone controlled, compliant, and outwardly respectable. Because he did not fit the profile they expected, he was overlooked. In 2004, nearly 3 decades after the first murders, the silence ended. A new letter arrived. This time, law enforcement responded differently. Advances in forensic science, renewed public pressure, and the formation of specialized cold case units led to a comprehensive re-examination of the evidence. The earlier letters were analyzed with modern techniques. Behavioral patterns were revisited. Connections that once seemed insignificant began to align. Authorities made a strategic decision to engage directly with the writer. They understood that he sought validation and believed himself intellectually superior. That belief became his weakness. During one exchange, he asked whether a floppy disk could be sent without being traced. Police assured him that it could. This was false. When the disk was received, forensic analysts recovered metadata that identified a church and a name. The information led investigators to Dennis Rader, a municipal compliance officer, church leader, and longtime Wichita resident. Surveillance confirmed the match. He was arrested in February 2005. Confronted with the evidence, Rader confessed to 10 murders. For the families of the victims, the arrest brought answers, but also reopened decades of grief. Many questioned how such a person could evade capture for so long, especially after repeatedly announcing his crimes. The answer lay in missed opportunities, outdated assumptions, and the failure to recognize that danger does not always appear as expected. Dennis Rader was sentenced to multiple life terms in prison. His case permanently changed how law enforcement evaluates anonymous communications, behavioral evidence, and long-term patterns of violence. It also stands as a reminder that warnings, when ignored, can allow unimaginable harm to continue. The evidence was there from the beginning. The question that remains is this: if those early signs had been taken seriously, how many lives might have been spared?